Your brain is designed to sabotage your best work. Every notification, every wandering thought, every quick email check is your ancient survival system fighting against modern success. Cal Newport discovered why, and his solution has transformed millions of careers. In the next 15 minutes, you will learn exactly how to rewire your mind for focused excellence. In 2016, Cal Newport, a computer science professor at Georgetown University, published a book that would challenge everything we believed about productivity. His central thesis was both simple and devastating. The ability to perform deep work, that is, professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration, is becoming increasingly rare at exactly the same time it is becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. But here is what makes this truly alarming. Newport discovered that most knowledge workers, the very people whose jobs depend on cognitive output, can only manage about 2.5 hours of actual focused work per day. The rest is consumed by what he calls shallow work. Email, meetings, administrative tasks, and the constant ping of notifications. And the consequences go far beyond wasted time. Your brain is literally changing, rewiring itself to crave distraction. But Newport found a way to reverse this. And that discovery is what we need to explore. To understand Newport's solution, we first need to grasp why this problem exists. And it starts with a concept called attention residue. Here's how it works. When you switch from task A to task B, your attention does not immediately follow. A residue of your thoughts remains stuck on the previous task. Researcher Sophie Leroy proved this in a landmark study. Participants who were interrupted mid-task performed significantly worse on subsequent tasks because their minds were still processing the unfinished work. Now multiply this by the average number of times a knowledge worker checks email per day. That number is 77. 77 attention residue events, each one degrading your cognitive performance for the next task. But here's the really disturbing part. If this insight is resonating with you, drop a like because it only gets deeper from here. Your brain does not just passively receive these interruptions. It actively seeks them out. And the reason why reveals something profound about human nature. Now let me shift perspective for a moment. Imagine you are a hunter-gatherer living 50,000 years ago. Your survival depends on one thing: constant vigilance. A rustle in the bushes could be food or could be death. Your brain evolved to be easily distracted because distraction kept you alive. Fast forward to today. That same brain sits in an office, bombarded by notifications designed by teams of engineers whose entire job is to capture your attention. Newport calls this the attention economy. And here is where it gets truly fascinating. Social media companies, email providers, and app developers are not just competing for your time. They are competing for the neurochemical reward systems in your brain. Every notification triggers a small dopamine release. Over time, your brain becomes trained to expect these micro-rewards constantly. The silence of deep work feels uncomfortable, even painful. Your brain interprets focused concentration as a threat to its reward system. But what if I told you there is a way to retrain your brain to find deep work pleasurable? Newport presents 4 rules for developing this capacity. And the first rule might surprise you. It is not about willpower. It is about ritual. Newport calls this working deeply, and it requires choosing a philosophy of depth. The monastic philosophy involves eliminating or radically minimizing shallow obligations. Think of a novelist disappearing for months to write. The bimodal philosophy divides your time into distinct periods of deep and shallow work. Carl Jung would retreat to his tower in Bollingen for intense periods, then return to his busy Zurich practice. The rhythmic philosophy turns deep work into a daily habit, chaining sessions together. The journalistic philosophy fits deep work wherever you can, switching into focus mode on demand. But here is what most people miss. The philosophy you choose matters less than your commitment to it. Newport found that people who tried to do deep work without a clear philosophy almost always failed within weeks. The structure itself is what enables the depth. And the second rule builds on this foundation in an unexpected way. But here is where it gets truly counterintuitive. Rule 2 is embrace boredom. And this is where most productivity advice completely misses the point. Think about it for a second. Most people try to schedule distraction-free blocks while filling every other moment with stimulation. Waiting in line, check your phone, eating lunch, watch a video. Before bed, scroll social media. Newport argues this approach is doomed. You cannot train your brain to focus intensely for scheduled periods while teaching it to expect constant stimulation the rest of the time. The brain does not work that way. Instead, you must embrace boredom. Schedule specific times when you allow yourself distraction and resist it at all other times. If you are watching this and want to see how these rules connect, hit subscribe now because the next insight ties everything together. This means tolerating boredom while waiting, letting your mind wander without reaching for your phone. The discomfort you feel is your brain rewiring itself for depth. Every moment of resisted distraction is a rep in your attention gym. Rule 3 takes this even further. Quit social media. Now, before you dismiss this, hear Newport out. He is not saying social media has no value. He is proposing what he calls the craftsman approach to tool selection. A craftsman does not adopt every new tool that appears. They carefully select tools that substantially improve their craft while avoiding those that provide minimal benefit with significant cost. Apply this to social media. What is the actual professional benefit? What is the actual cost to your attention, your deep work capacity, your mental clarity? Newport found that when people honestly calculated this equation, most concluded that social media provided marginal benefits with massive attentional costs. But here is the key insight. The fear of missing out, that anxiety you feel when considering disconnecting, is itself a symptom of the attention fragmentation we have been discussing. The fact that quitting feels scary is evidence that quitting might be necessary. And this leads us to the fourth and final rule, which might be the most practical of all. Rule 4 is drain the shallows. And this is where everything comes together. Newport recommends a radical approach. Schedule every minute of your workday, not to be rigid, but to be intentional. When you plan your time in advance, you force yourself to confront a crucial question. Is this task deep or shallow? Newport suggests quantifying this by asking, how long would it take to train a smart recent college graduate to do this task? If the answer is months or years, it is deep work. If the answer is weeks, it is shallow. Most people are shocked when they calculate how much of their day is consumed by shallow work. Newport then recommends setting a shallow work budget, perhaps 30% of your time. When shallow tasks exceed this budget, you have clear evidence that something needs to change. But here is the revelation that transformed my understanding. The goal is not to eliminate shallow work entirely. The goal is to ensure that shallow work does not eliminate your capacity for depth. When you protect your deep work first, the shallow work gets done more efficiently anyway. Now here is what Newport wants you to understand about the bigger picture. Deep work is not just a productivity hack. It is a path to a meaningful life. When you enter a state of true focus, something profound happens. The trivial concerns that normally dominate your attention fade away. You experience what psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi called flow, a state of optimal experience where challenge meets capability. Newport argues that our obsession with connectivity has robbed us of these experiences. We have traded depth for the shallow buzz of constant availability. The irony is devastating. We stay connected to feel productive, but this connectivity destroys our capacity for the work that actually matters. The people who will thrive in the new economy will not be those who are most connected. They will be those who can disconnect and go deep. This is not just about career success. It is about reclaiming your cognitive birthright, the ability to focus intensely on what matters most. But let me give you something practical to start with tomorrow. Newport recommends beginning with what he calls the shutdown ritual. At the end of each workday, review every incomplete task. Either capture it on a task list or confirm you will return to it. Then say a phrase, any phrase, that signals to your brain that work is done. Newport uses the phrase, shut down complete. This might sound strange, but it serves a crucial function. Remember attention residue? Those incomplete tasks that linger in your mind? The shutdown ritual gives your brain permission to release them. Without it, work thoughts will continue to intrude on your evening, degrading both your rest and your next day's focus. The magic of this ritual is that it works both ways. When you truly shut down, you return to work refreshed. When you protect your deep work time, you accomplish more and can shut down guilt-free. These two practices reinforce each other, creating an upward spiral of focus and recovery. Now I want to address something Newport discovered that most summaries of his book miss entirely. Deep work has a limit. Even the most accomplished deep workers rarely exceed 4 hours of intense focus per day. Attempting more typically produces diminishing returns and eventual burnout. This might seem discouraging until you realize what it means. If you can develop the capacity for just 4 hours of deep work daily, you will already be operating at the maximum effective human limit. That is a realistic, achievable goal. But there is an even more profound implication. If deep work is capped at roughly 4 hours, then the real battle is not about working longer.